Resident Evil 2 will go down in history as one of Capcom's golden geese. Whilst Resident Evil 7 Biohazard grounded the franchise after it slowly turned into a fast and furious competitor, Resident Evil 2 Remake dragged the series back to its survival horror roots and reminded everybody why Resident Evil became one of gaming's greatest horror franchises. Resident Evil 2 originally came out in 1998 and came out to overwhelmingly good reviews. It was to the point where the sequel Resident Evil Nemesis was pushed through the development period and was released only a year later. But before we talk about that, let's start with Leon Kennedy. He's a rookie cop whose first day on the job is immediately abysmal.
Go! Don't shoot! Get down!
Or you can start as Claire Redfield, who came to Raccoon City looking for her brother.
You really Chris's sister?
Yeah.
I swear he's not important. Regardless of who you chose, you still start the game at the gas station. This is truly a genius way to start, because it immediately tells you what kind of horror game this is. Resident Evil 2 is the personification of stress in a bottle.
I said get off him!
Because zombies don't fucking die. It's annoying, but I love it, since you never truly know if a zombie is killed, since if you down one and move on, there's a big old fat chance that the zombie you thought you killed 2 hours ago will come back and make sure that it's a long-term problem. In older Resident Evil games, zombies were basically just moving traffic cones. In this game, they stumble, tank headshots, lunge unpredictably, and refuse to die unless you either waste your ammo or blow the head clean off first time round. The first time you shoot a zombie in the face 5 times and it still crawls towards you, you start to think to yourself,
Holy shit!
The remake changing the camera to an over-the-shoulder view was probably the smartest decision Capcom would have ever made. The original fixed cameras were iconic, but the remake puts you directly behind Leon and Claire, which makes every corridor feel so much more claustrophobic, which makes this next section agony. Mr. X is basically just stress in a trench coat, and it's probably one of the smartest decisions Capcom has ever made to implement him. The first ever time you hear his footsteps echoing throughout the police station, the entire game changes gear. The RPD stops feeling like a puzzle box and starts feeling like a prison. I swear the pun wasn't intended. But what makes Mr. X work is that he isn't scripted for most of the game. He just runs and he searches, and if you shoot something, he just follows the sound. And he'll find you before you find him. Half the time you'll be doing a puzzle and questioning why the fuck you've been carrying around a book for the past hour and a half, and then all of a sudden you'll just hear footsteps. Suddenly, your carefully planned route goes completely out the window as you don't have a clue if he's above or below you. This is truly brilliant horror design, because he turns the navigation into panic. The police station is split into 3 different floors, and because Mr. X's footsteps are so loud, you can't tell if he's above or below you. This is truly genius design, and I wished it followed more into later games. The unfortunate reality is that it hasn't. This is also where one of the remake's biggest pitfalls appears. The original game had A scenario and B scenario that massively changed the events depending on how you played. The remake kind of does this, but not really. The second run feels more like a remix mode than a true alternate story. Characters somehow fight the same bosses twice, events weirdly overlap, and continuity occasionally just doesn't exist. It's one of the few places where the original genuinely did it better. The other issue is the pacing of the police station. The RPD is a survival horror perfection. Every shortcut feels earned, every key matters, every room is memorable. But once you leave, the game just comes to a grinding halt, as you're forced to trudge through different areas that lack the same charm as the police station. The sewers are visually repetitive, Enemy placement gets more and more frustrating than scary, and the lab section leans more into action than it does anything else. It's still good, better than some Resident Evil games, but the police station is just so strong that the rest of the game struggles to keep up with this amazing design. And then there's Ada and Sherry. These sections are fine-ish. On subsequent playthroughs, they absolutely just become sections that you just want to get over and done with, which they just completely break the flow of the game. But the one that mainly irritates me is Ada's hacking section, which feels less like a horror game and more like Capcom telling us, oh yeah, do you remember these mechanics? Yeah, they still exist, don't you worry. But Sherry's section is reduced on subsequent playthroughs as just that one flashback section from every Resident Evil game. It's different on the first playthrough, but Christ almighty, I wish Capcom would introduce a skip function on these sections. The reason why I don't like Sherry's section is because it's just a waiting simulator. You have to just wait for him to go past, then you have to wait for him to go back, and then you have to wait for him to just get the keys out, then you have to wait for him to pass again. It just breaks the flow entirely for me. But despite all these issues, Resident Evil 2 Remake succeeds because it understands tension better than most modern horror games. The inventory system forces decisions. Healing items matter, saving matters, and hell, even backtracking matters. Even opening a door becomes stressful, and you never know if you have enough inventory spots to accommodate whatever you actually need for the story. But Resident Evil doesn't need that. With how Mr. X reacts to the environment and how little you're given to survive, it ends up creating this natural fear that follows you throughout the entire game. The game doesn't scare you because of loud noises during quiet sections, it scares you because you're down to 3 bullets, 1 herb, and you can hear Mr. X approaching. This is survival horror at its best. And honestly, that's why this remake works so well. It doesn't replace the original, it reinterprets it. The original Resident Evil 2 feels like a horror movie from the late 90s. The remake though feels like it's a love letter to all the people that still had hope that Capcom would see the light. And by God they did.